Hello, friends of Mundo Holistico and Holistic Living TV. Super excited to see you here today. Maytrelli Diaz, live from Seattle, Washington, trying to report the good news about this time, beautiful time of transition that humanity is passing through. And I am super excited that we are going to be showing you and introducing you to new people, the friends that are working more in the north, about holistic news, about permaculture, about all the new trends that are going to be helping humanity. So super happy to be here. We're going to be tuning in at 4 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Pacific time and 4 p.m. Central Mexico time. This is the new version of Planetary Consciousness. We're going to be transmitting in English. So super happy to be here today. I send regards to all my folks in Mexico, South America, Central America, and of course in Europe, to London and all the friends over there. We send you a big cosmic hug. And now we are going to be transmitting for the North American folks. We're going to be really trying to bring together and bringing, opening bridges and bringing people together to start opening out with the global community today. So super excited for that. And yes, today we have a very special guest today here, my friend David Ahlgren. He is an innovative permaculture consultant. He is an educator. He is a researcher and innovative land steward. I am super excited to hear what he has to say, because he has been developing different permaculture and restorative agriculture projects. In his bio, they call him large-scale earthwork designer, Waterflow choreographer, land and human pattern researcher, symbiotic educator, holistic life and community coach. All of these gifts has my friend David Ahlgren. Welcome today to Holistic World, David.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and excited. I'm here from St. Petersburg, Florida, is where I have my nest.
Exactly. I wanted to remind our friends where are you around in the world? And yeah, Miami. Oh, well, that's the area, or Florida. How are things going over there, David? How are you?
Going well, going well. It's neat. This change in our world has had me slow down and stop and be able to write more. It's also brought a lot of turmoil around the world, and really remotely, I've had to do a lot more education. I love traveling and meeting people face to face, but this has caused me to stop and slow down and make different plans and observe what humans are doing here. And so it's been good. It's been good to me.
That's great. For people that don't know David Ahlgren, he is a world traveler. He travels the world helping people design their gardens into a way more integrative solution for life. And that's how I met him. We created a workshop on a land here in Washington, and it came out in a beautiful way. So, but David, please let me know a little bit more. You have all these names that we say in your bio. How do you describe yourself, and what is your work here in permaculture?
Yeah, permaculture is just kind of like a word we can use. We can kind of even push the word aside and say harmony with nature, harmony with each other. And it's really important for us to, with permaculture, it's a philosophy of design. So it's just stopping and having intention. And we can think about it kind of like yoga. Is sometimes we have to stop and like find where we're at, stop and like observe our body. In the same way, that's what permaculture really is stopping and looking at the body of Mother Nature and seeing how she's flowing, seeing what we've done to her, and seeing how we can work in harmony with her. So really, it's just a method of stopping, designing, and then working with, and the word permaculture is permanent culture. So it's not just agriculture, but it's actually a holistic mindset of how we relate one to another, how we design governments, how we design roads, how we design communities, and how we can bring those things together. And so in permaculture, we don't just think about the short term, because it's perma, which is permanent. I always say, if we can't design for 1,000 years, then we're not doing, we're not permaculture anymore. There's a phrase I always put on the bottom of my emails, and it says, a society grows great when old people plant trees whose shade they'll never sit. And we as a society haven't been thinking beyond ourselves. And so that's that's kind of permaculture in a nutshell on how I kind of approach things. And then from there, from observation, we stop and we create new patterns. And we look at the patterns of nature and how it works. And instead of taking nature and like twisting nature, we take nature and work with the flows and the patterns of nature to create abundance.
So basically, your work, it's based in a holistic theory. You are being able to bring together all the beauty that nature is and help humans design something around here, not separating, not pushing away, but it's more like a holistic view. So interesting. For the people that doesn't know, in this channel, there is a lot of new practices around agriculture, and we have to really come together and come to an understanding that we have to do things different. Things haven't really been working the way are being so far. So this is a new time, and David Ahlgren is it's here for many years. He has been designing and helping a lot of people. Please tell me, David, a little bit of what is your perspective on where and where we are as a culture today in relating with your work.
Where we are as a culture is, for the past hundreds of years, we as a culture have been what I call degenerative, which means we're not in harmony with the flows of nature. So we actually start breaking down. And it's actually part of a flow within nature to have things that break down, but eventually you have to come back into symbiosis. So I believe us as a society need to come back into this balance, which is harmony with nature. So we have to first, before we do that, we have to look at where we've come from and how the patterns are breaking down and actually are degenerative. So a lot of times, even in the small areas, we look at, on the capitalist-based system, we look at profit and we like, oh, we put in 5 units in and we get 6 units out. That's getting something. But nature is much more beautiful, much more abundant. Whenever we walk into a jungle that's been untouched by humans, we see small little energies producing massive amounts of abundance. All of these systems working together in what we call symbiosis, which is working together as one unit. And so us as a culture haven't been doing that. We actually create what we call monocultures, both in our agriculture realm. We've been putting thousands of acres of almonds in California. And then we're pumping water out of the aquifers and out of the water systems and building dams that are going to hopefully create more water we can support our almonds. But over time, we've constantly stacked very, very monoculture, means one or very, very small amounts of diversity. And we actually done it the human way, which has actually been very degenerative over the past few hundred years. So yeah, summary is, for the past 200 years, hundreds of years, us as a culture as a whole haven't been doing all that well. There's little glimmers of changes and such, and we can go back into history. The Mayans did some amazing things. The Egyptians did amazing things. There's many cultures, like for example, China. China in the past 30 years has done a massive land restoration project called the Luz Plateau. Hundreds of thousands of acres restored, and not only just the land's restored, but the relationships with the humans are restored, and the entire financial and food-based economy has risen up and created abundance. So we can do it. It's not rocket science. And we can look back at civilizations of the past and say, wow, look at how abundant they were, both abundant in food and in ecosystems, but also abundant in how they related to one another. And I think us as a culture haven't been doing a very good job at that.
It's truth, like just thinking that we are right now in what I call the beginning of the hurricane. I don't really think that we are even in the eye of the hurricane. We've been waiting for things like this, honestly, for probably 12 years for me. At least that's the reason, one of the reasons why I left the city, and I was trying to have more like a holistic life close to nature and just creating more that just ambience where you can just really be in nature, just grow your own food, figure it out, a community, a closer community. And I don't say you cannot do it in the city, but I think it's more complicated. I actually know several successful cases, that people, like created little communities, and they start, like, you can do it. Honestly, you can do it wherever you want, but being in nature, I feel the countryside and just being in nature, it's the way to go for humanity. If you want to be sane, if you want to be feeling a little more just in peace, I just invite the friends around the world to start really considering what you're going to do. Do you really want to be living in the city? And honestly, figure out a way so you can, like, bring your own food to your plate. You never know what are people putting in this food. And regarding to this, David Ahlgren creates beautiful gardens, beautiful productions, and beautiful projects with food can come alive. Why don't you speak a little bit about what is the work that you do in at this time, and then maybe Adrián can help us here with some of your work. Adriancito, si nos puedes ayudar en la producción, por favor.
Yeah, some of my work I've been doing are some big projects I have. I have a project down in Panama, which is an intentional community called, ooh, man, I lost the name of it. But it's an intentional community in Anton, north of Panama City. And I really enjoyed being part of teaching the local people there how to work in harmony with nature. And I found it really enjoyable to, like, when teaching them, see their eyes open and they get bright, because what I speak of is the same type of symbiosis that their grandparents spoke of and working with nature. So it's like a lot of times they'll see me, I'm a white man, showing up to teach them. And so, but I'm coming into it with nature and teaching them through nature and saying, look at the soil, look at how this works. And so as I'm doing that, I have a way of just connecting with people. So I separate my work into three different projects, or three different areas. The first one is corporate projects. And right now I have a very large project, which is one of the most encouraging things that I'm doing right now. And it is funded by about $40 million. And it's going to be the largest healing center and vacation center in North America dedicated to natural healing. And they've asked me to come and help them build the system in symbiosis with nature. So whenever we see corporations seeing the benefit of working in harmony with nature, that's a sign of, like, a turning of our culture, and at least some people coming up and being excited. So I'm very encouraged by that. What that does is that funds me to also help people. Like when I go to Oregon and Washington, I deal with a lot of farms, and a lot of them I'll do like a cost share where I come and I teach a class on site, helping them harvest water and have it flow through nature. And then we create abundance. And over time, hopefully those projects will pay me back a little bit what I gave to them. And then the third way I do projects is philanthropy and education. So I spend a third of my time traveling the world teaching people who wouldn't be able to afford me. So it's kind of like a little sliding scale I have that helps fund me helping people from all around the world. So when I go to, I remember the name of the community in Panama. It's called Eighth Life Panama. You guys can look it up. If anyone's in Panama, go visit them. They're also a budding intentional community with some great intention of creating some abundance and bringing people together, both culturally and agriculturally, and doing some really neat things. So I'm able to go there and work with them and not have to charge them for me to come. Also, that opens the door that also if there's any projects around the world where people want me to come, both on a social level and on a agricultural level, I love consulting projects, especially if it's a good cause.
So I can see, like our friends can see right now some pictures of you teaching, like big groups, and I can see everybody sitting down around you on the ground, and then there is like there are friends like climb on what is this machine, the excavator, which is
Traco, yeah.
which is that's how I actually ended up meeting David. He came to our land and created a huge amount of how they call
Swales.
the swales. So teaching and just kind of like getting in contact with the people to just have an experience of what is the best way to just work with nature, so you can have a beautiful and abundant production without harming too much the earth. I also see that you are teaching in different places. I see you are a lot in the ground teaching with people, and then you go and kind of like have meetings and gatherings. How much you enjoy about working with people, and why is that you feel your work is helping the transition to the new age, or hopefully we can really change a little bit, turn a little bit the crossroads that the humanity is on. How is that you consider yourself and your work a good practice to this new change?
Oh, I love it. I love teaching people because really, it's my joy. I love stopping and like seeing the light come on in people's eyes when I can show them how this works. Also, my goal is not to bring David like this, oh, I'm David, I can be a great teacher. But my goal is to teach. We need thousands of Davids across the world, and people that are even doing things way different than me. But we need to see this concept of working in harmony with nature. And if I can see that in people and get people excited, and I love getting groups together. And as you can see in the pictures, I create circles. I don't go up in front of people and do a big presentation. My goal is to bring community and develop methods of bringing people together, and having symbiosis in the way we teach. So, and I love it when we come together, we share food. And so I'm kind of creating this new container. It's not like the education of our world. It's just this new kind of community-based education that is working with the land. And I see there's already all across Oregon and Washington, there are people teaching Earthworks courses that are students of mine. And I'm excited to continue to seed more and more around the world. So I actually have a Earthworks project that was scheduled for next week. Unfortunately, we're going to have to reschedule it. But I'm hoping to seed really all the way across the world. I have a perspective project in Italy. I have projects that are in the development in Nicaragua and all across. I love to go all over South America. I love the people, and I love bringing people together and just seeing the light on their eyes when they see how much abundance can come, and just the peace that comes when we're just sitting with nature and working with nature rather than fighting her.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like a dream come true. And I mean, it's wrong for me to say it, but honestly, South America and Central American people, they just have this kind of like life in their blood. It's just like this passionate way of like communicating, even just looking at people, how just like that, how they eat, how they enjoy food, how they talk, how we just kind of like try to come closer to people. Like we don't really have that much that taboo of like, hello mister, how are you? So I totally agree with you in that. And this is a perfect place to communicate about this, because Mundo Holístico and Planetary Consciousness, this channel has been for 11 years working its way in all Mexico, Central America, and South America, now Europe and USA. But what would you say to the folks, to the friends and people that wanna start just kind of like reaching a little more towards create their own food? Like I saw these beautiful gardens with different shapes. What would you say to them? How can people at home start this change in their lives? What would you say to them?
I would say, even before we enter, I'll kind of go back a little bit and give you my method of entering nature. I was born on the island of Guam in Southeast Asia. So I am a white man, but I was born definitely in the culture of the islands in Southeast Asia. And in Southeast Asia, before they enter the forest, they stop and they ask nature for permission. And a lot of times us as a culture don't stop and like examine ourselves and examine like whether it's good for us to enter the land. And so that's the first thing I'd always ask is, let's stop and observe ourselves and then enter the land. And so most of the time in the Chamorro culture, people would ask the Tatamona, which is like the spirits of the forest, but the answer was almost always yes, come in and join, but do not destroy. So it's first is do no harm, but there's so much we can do in just getting plants and planting them and working with our soil. And then also take the time, and you had mentioned earlier, getting out of the city, take some time to go out and spend some time elsewhere. And then also work with your neighbors. If we live in a city, come together and, make a garden together. Do a garden in your front yard, not just your backyard, and bring people together and then invite people over to eat that food. I grew up in a culture where we eat and we hug and we have this more of a community mindset. So I love seeing that in other people, especially in my education, is bringing people together and we eat and we have joy together. But yeah, planting. If we can all plant things, that'd be great. And then secondly, is after we touch nature, come back into balance and ask ourselves, hey, how did I do? Because we can all learn. But if we come into nature and say, I rule you and I control you, you better make this food for me, that's not the way we consensually enter nature. We need to enter as a relationship where we're both equal. And I always say we have to have the same consciousness and as when we're with a human or with a cow or with the soil. I really think we need to stop and observe and have honor towards the soil. So yeah, so the three things is look at yourself, go into the land, and then secondly, ask if you can learn anything from the land when you finish.
That's amazing. I honestly think that if people could be trading their loans for forest gardens, there will be another story right here. So super happy. David, let me know what opportunities you are creating now for folks that are in the beginning, or how can they reach at you? What are your new proposals with this shift of the situation here in our life with this lockup? What are the new opportunities you are sharing with people?
A few things. I will likely be going ahead and creating a little bit of online content, but I also want to start planning and start observing. So in my online content, I will be answering questions for people, starting to build relationships with people. And so if you're interested in being part of some of these discussions, you can contact me. I'm on Instagram at Dave Ahlgren, and on Facebook at Dave Ahlgren, and then I'm at davidahlgren.com. Ahlgren is spelled Ahlgren. Yeah, I want to start relationships and build relationships. Also, if there's communities or projects or even degraded land that people want me to look at remotely, I can do that. And then I like to build relationships with people over time. And then over time, that relationship builds into me working with them on their land and possibly bringing education to their location. A good example is the 8th Life Panama. The person came to the Northwest Permaculture Convergence. And so if anyone's ever wanting to travel to a great gathering, the Northwest Permaculture Convergence is a world-class gathering of permaculture educators and people who are just starting to learn. And we come together and learn and build community once a year. It's the weekend between September and October. And I teach normally quite a few classes there. and I'm on the board of the directors with the Convergence. So that's a source of being involved. And then another way I encourage people to be involved is if you see a project that I'm working on that you're like, I love what you're doing. I actually don't ask people to fund me. I say, hey, you know what? Eighth Life Panama is doing some great things. Let's work to fund them. So joining me on discussions on Facebook, when there's people in need, I normally go ahead and promote them and push people forward. I try not to I rarely ask for money because all of my work has brought so much abundance in my life. So that's not normally a need. And I like to put resources where there is need.
So great to hear all these opportunities. Friends of Mundo Holistico and Holistic Living, such a pleasure to be around here live from Seattle and tapping into Florida with my friend David Ahlgren. We're going to go into a little break so I can get all his information ready. So we're going to go in a small, very short break, and we will be back with you shortly. Super happy to see you here, and go back. We're gonna be sharing how you can tap into permaculture world and all the work that David is gonna be sharing here shortly. Thank you so much, David. Super happy. Thank you so much for your patience. We are here in Mundo Holistico, Holistic Living TV, uh, transmitting live from Seattle, Washington, and tapping into my friend David Ahlgren. He is in Florida, and we are talking about all the changes that agriculture has been turning around and how civilization and humanity has been having to adapt to all these changes. We really need to look deeper into what we want and not only on the past. So I feel this is a great time for us to be learning about more about earth, learning about more about what food we are eating, what are the sources where our food is coming from, and of course, what do we really are looking for, what are we embracing as a culture. And speaking about this, David, why would you say that with all this opportunity that I call coronavirus, what would you say that this ally is bringing to our lives as a culture? How is this affecting us? Is this gonna change something on your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. A lot of times whenever we see a problem or something, a change within nature, something that disturbs us, a lot of times we need to stop and look back in time. And we see things like this bringing major turnings or major changes within our culture. We call them disturbances. And they happen on a small scale in nature. When a herd of buffalo come through the land, people would say, oh, it's destroying everything. But reality is, sometimes these disturbances, as long as they're not too close together, can create so much abundance. Just imagine like a rainstorm coming and pouring down on an area and be like, rain, rain, rain. But the reality is that rain can bring a change. And sometimes that change, when part of the natural flow of nature, and when we can use that change for good, we can create abundance. That happens. So for example, with our culture right now, people are seeing like, oh, I can't go to a restaurant to just get whatever food they hand me. I have to go into a grocery store. But where is that food coming from? And then also, some of this food system is so codependent on certain elements of our culture that right now, right here in Florida, there was 40,000 pounds of squash that was just dumped on the side of the highway because the farmers had no place to put these vegetables. But that was an obvious thing. There's food wasted on a constant basis within our culture. So what this does is it brings some perspective. So perspective isn't the only thing we need to look at. That just kind of like opens up the womb and helps us to realize what's wrong. Where the real change comes is when we take that disturbance and we learn from it and we create new patterns. Some of the new patterns that we're going to create is some of the ways that we're maybe going to decentralize our food system. People may be asking, hey, what can we do to create a food forest in our town? I don't know what the food forests look like in Seattle right now, but I know the food forests here in St. Petersburg are stripped bare. People that would not normally go and harvest food from the food forest are now all there. And so now we're gonna there's enough people that are gonna hopefully lobby the city council to say, hey, you know this park, you gave us like 1% of the park, we want 100% of the park, and we want to take it over and plant a food forest. You know, we need to start tearing down fences and connect neighbors and create food forests in ways that we haven't done in hundreds of years. But way back in time, tribal people shared a garden together. And when you share some things together, you can have a shared drive, a shared purpose, and how you bring these things together. So I see this being an opportunity for us to turn around and create some of these new patterns. And when you create the new patterns based on observation of nature, then you can get abundance that comes from it.
That's exactly what I love to hear about when there are like different challenges, different situations. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to get back into sharing holistic living as a window of good news and opportunities, because as much as the government, politicians, and the news, they wanna spread out, different opinions of what is going on. I feel there is so much for us to do. There is so much wisdom that can just come from sitting down, meditate, just really feel, am I really doing what I want to do? I always invite people to take a moment to think about that. Do you really feel happy with what you're doing? Like, are you really being in charge of your own life, and you really feel happy living where you are, or being with the person you are? Like, do you really think this is your top of happiness? And if
Mm-hmm.
not, just breathe. Take a
Yes.
moment to breathe, and recalibrate and change direction, and just change swing, and then swing in that other way, in the way that it's more loose, more like just that, something that gives you more peace of mind, just freedom. And find allies with, in your community, in astrology. Find allies in different ways. For me, the Mayan astrology helped me deeply to find, a different way of what to do. So holistic living, it's about finding your happiness and never stop, always question, always keep researching, and always keep thinking about what is that you want to give to the world, how is that you want to serve to this world, and what are you going to leave behind for your kids. And even if you don't have kids, for the people around, or your grandchildren, or your children, your children's children's, for everyone. And in this matter, I hear that you've been taking a moment to relax, being in your forest, and I hear that you are writing a book. What is this about?
Yeah, I actually really got inspired. Many people have asked me to write down some of the things that I've learned about the symbiosis with nature, and I have a goal to write actually 3 books in the next few years. The
Ambitious.
first book, the first book I actually want to do is actually targeted on the people who wouldn't be listening to this show, the people in the cities who, if I can show them just a little coffee table book that they can have, and they can open up and see pictures of the abundance that comes. But each page is going to have its own concept of like stacking functions, or working with soil, um, you know, working with bugs, all these different elements, and then pictures and stories of people actually doing that on each page. So that'll be a picture, more of a picture book. And I really feel like that's kind of my gift to society, to share some of the concepts, but through other people who are doing it even better than I'm doing it. So it's kind
I
of be a little
love
bit of
that idea.
interviewing. Yeah.
I
So
love that idea, because honestly, I really feel that sometimes you leave a little window for opportunity somewhere, and maybe you are, like somebody's like working in their phone or whatever, and you find this something that
mhm,
touch you, and it just really brings something inside you that is like, wow, can I really change? I mean, that happened to me in a song, Tina
mhm,
Malia's song, like a mantra, and
mhm.
I just kind of felt it. It was like a moment of like feeling, and then it was like, ah, that's how I want to feel. So that is a great idea. I love the first concept of your book.
So, and then the second book is a little more boring, but it's actually about water flow. I don't believe people have really put into a textbook type of setting the details of how water flows through land, and throughout history, how different methods from the Mayans to the Egyptians and all the people who come together, and how we can bring some of that knowledge together in a book that talks about the observations of nature and how water flows. But that'll be actually really textbooky, very technical. But if anyone's interested in understanding how to mitigate floods, how to stop, slow, and soak water for gardens, how to store water uphill for villages, these are the things that I specialize in on a large scale: is water. how to move water through land and how to capture water. But these systems not being volatile, these systems being there for the next 1,000 years. You know, there's water systems that the Mayans built that have been there for 1,000 years and are still functioning. So that's the second book. The third book was inspired to me by reading the book Braiding Sweetgrass. The book Braiding Sweetgrass really is more of a mandala of bringing history, culture, an autobiography. I've had an adventure of a life, and I want to bring all that together and show people some of the things that I've seen within nature and some of the patterns I've seen within nature, but in a very poetic form, and bringing those together. That's going to be the book that I really feel like is kind of my story of the patterns within nature and how that's actually flowed in my life and created abundance. So that's my third book.
That sounds like a very, very wonderful journey that you have been in your life. And these days, really, we cannot get for granted our times in this life as earthlings. And I feel very encouraged and very inspired by you, like dynamism. You're feeling really, really excited about everything. And the one other thing I can see from you is like, maybe like, and you call yourself, I might be a white person in, like teaching some people. Honestly, about these times, I feel, we are just kind of like all colors, like we are earthlings. I hope that really this time can help people from all over the world see each other as a set of eyes with a heart, with the same systems. And we are all here looking for the same. We are not going to take anything when we die. No one, not Trump, no, none of the politicians. No one is going to take anything, not even the big emperors and kings from the Mayan. They find all these jewels and all these things, but everyone is going to go exactly the same way. So I am super, super excited to share this news about your new work. And of course, I will invite people from all over America and everywhere. I mean, of course, Europe if they want to tap into the world of David Ahlgren. What will be a good place where they can find you? And maybe our producer can introduce here your website, your email, but let's say it just to for people to write it down, or and then we're gonna put it there, but just in case, how can they reach to you? And are you able to go worldwide, or are you
Yeah,
a
I'll
North
travel. I'll
American
travel.
base, or
Yeah, I
are you
travel.
open to everyone?
I'm open to everyone. I love different people, different cultures. I'd love to go back to Southeast Asia and do work there. Um, I am excited about the perspective. When people want to learn or people want to heal a large piece of land, I'm here to like bring those two together. It's not just healing land, but we're healing people and land together. And that's my way of doing it. You saw this when I came out and first met you, is I brought people together and land together, and we healed both of them and created lifelong friendships. And that's why we're here together, is because we seeded that through an Earthworks or an earth healing gathering. So I like to facilitate these. I also facilitate a whole wide range of other types of education and gathering. I also teach what I call permaculture of human relationships, and which actually teaches new ways, just like we're working with the soil, new ways and new patterns of relating as humans, because I don't think humans have been getting along for a while, and I think we need new patterns in that area. So my email address is david@wavemedia.com, and I'm on Facebook under David Ahlgren. Last name is spelled Ahlgren. I have two Facebook pages. One's like my personal, you can add me there, but then @Dave Ahlgren is my author page. And that's where I'll be featuring all of my education opportunities. They'll also be featured on my website. Right now, there's nothing scheduled other than the Northwest Permaculture Convergence. If you want to travel up to, it's going to be on the Olympic Peninsula this year, and so we'll both be there hopefully. So.
Super. And Adrian, I hope you can be posting everything here. Adrian is our producer in Mexico City. So thank you so much, Adriancito and Gerardo Said. We send you a big hug from over here. Super, super excited. I can see how the coronavirus transition into a super awesome opportunity for the humanity. And I am here totally supporting the work of healers, restorative agriculture, permaculture, human relationships. So if people wants to reach, you know where they are, you know where how to reach at David. If you want to have information or just tap into, you have a vision of your, like, whatever size your garden is, and you're not really sure how to do what design, or you don't know if what to put. He is the one, he is the magician, he is a designer of water. He brings the flow of, like, making a sanctuary for you to have your own food. There is no need, really, there is no need to be buying everything in the store. You could be, and that's how I live until this year that we ended up having to move closer to the city just for school things with my kids. But we used to, oh, you want a carrot, oh, we need carrots for the salad. Okay, give me a second. You walk to your garden, dig out the carrot, wash the carrot, eat the carrot. So I really feel super excited. Friends in the world, please take a moment to just kind of like really reconsider where your food is coming from. And what can you tell to friends around the world, David? We have the last 4 minutes, so whatever you want to say to them, this is your time.
Oh, food. I mean, you just got me so excited about picking a carrot. If you can grow a little bit of food, even if you're in an apartment and getting a pot and growing it, or finding someone who has a little corner, or even in the city, sometimes finding a little place that you can just plant what we call a guerrilla garden, plant something and then eat it and enjoy it. And also, whenever you are eating, stop and first thank yourself because you did something that brought this food, and then thank the earth, and then also thank all the people who brought that food, because I don't think we realize all of the humans that have been picking food for unsustainable labor across the world. I think that needs to change. And I want to speak out and say that I don't think we're treating humans fairly around the world, and we need to change that. And the best way we can do that is starting a food system that is decentralized and doesn't have as much waste. We can take some of those resources and share them with everybody. And I do believe that us as a culture could be way more harmonious, not just in 100 years, but in the next few years, is bringing us together, eating better food, and treating each other better, no matter where you are in the world. If there's a cause that we can bring people together and we can eat better and treat people better, I like being part of that stuff.
That's a community I love to be part of, and that's one of the reasons I am here right now. And super grateful to having you today here, tapping in from
Thank you.
Florida. I send you hugs and a lot of love for this time to be a beautiful, I call it surfing the wave, and I love surfing the wave, learning more wisdom. I am actually not really looking at any other news. I am focusing in trying to learn what I want to learn for my own world, and trying to do my own thing. Also, just take a moment to breathe, and just feeling, do I really want to eat this food, or can I be having a little garden here and there? So super happy to have you. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. Also to you friends that are looking through the online channel, Planetary Consciousness, Mundo Holistico, and the Red Holistica. Mundo Holistico, Holistic Living, it's going to be here every Wednesday, 3 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Central Mexico, and super excited to have good news, holistic news, so we can actually make it successfully and thrive as human, as a human global family. So super excited. Thank you everyone for being here. I send all the blessings from here. May you can be feeling peaceful. May you can find new opportunities. May this journey start in a great way for you. Hugs to you. Thank you everyone. We'll be around. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you.